What's up everyone? Ashley here. Welcome to Ashley Talks Movies. So F9, the Fast Saga, is the latest film in the long-running Fast and Furious franchise, and it's finally arrived in theaters after being delayed numerous times. In this installment, Dom, played by Vin Diesel, and his crew must face one of the world's most skilled assassins who just so happens to be Dom's long-lost brother. Yeah. So before I dive into the full review of the film, couple of things. If you like my video, hit that like button. I'd really appreciate it. Also consider subscribing to my channel. Just hit that subscribe button. Would also appreciate that as well. All right, so on to the review. So let me start off by saying that I'm not a huge fan of the Fast and Furious franchise. I've seen all the movies, some are better than others, but ultimately this is not the franchise for me. That being said, because I've seen all the movies, I know exactly what to expect with this type of movie. And you definitely get all of that with F9. You get fast cars, you get explosions, you get over-the-top stunts, you get bad dialogue, bad acting, silly storyline, the list goes on. But with F9, it feels like everything about those movies gets cranked up to like level 11. So even though the past movies might have seemed ridiculous or had some moments that were a little bit absurd, this movie is just like, we're gonna go to the most extreme level of ridiculousness and absurdity that we possibly can. And I hope you're ready for the ride, because that's pretty much what you get. It's almost like the people behind these movies were like, whatever logic existed in the previous movies, let's just get rid of that. So why don't we have a car that swings across a canyon on a rope just like Tarzan? Done. What if we strap a rocket to a car? Done. It's just like whatever the strangest things they could possibly do, they decided to do in this movie. One of the biggest problems with this movie is the storyline. It's not very strong. Granted, that's pretty much true with previous movies, but in this particular movie, it seems like the storyline got overly complicated and muddled, more so than it needed to be. Like, I'm not saying this movie has to have an overly complicated plot, or any of the Fast and Furious movies have to have an overly complicated plot to make you think. It doesn't. It can be very, very simple. In fact, that's what I would prefer. Just a really simple storyline, and then just everything else be revolving around all the action, the fast cars and stuff. But instead, they muddle the plot, they introduce Dom's long-lost brother, Jakob, played by John Cena, and you know, for that relationship to work, they have to kind of establish it. And they do that through flashbacks of when Dom and Jakob were younger. You see how they fall out, like that whole history behind them. Problem is, it doesn't really work. It just felt really forced. And it takes up most of the time in the movie. Like, there's so much energy that's in this movie with, again, the action sequences and everything else that's going on, the fast cars and stuff. And then you get to this storyline with Dom's brother and the flashbacks, and it just seems to bring that energy down. And because they have to establish this relationship to try to make it believable, I guess, they do spend a good chunk of time in the movie dealing with this. Also, how they explain the return of one character from the previous movies also seemed really forced. It just, to me, didn't work. I mean, you know, bring back whatever characters you want, I guess, if you can do that. But at least try. It didn't really seem like they tried. It was just like, oh yeah, we're gonna explain away why this character suddenly is back. And there you go. And I don't know, it didn't really work for me. Also, again, you have all these over-the-top stunts, and that means you're probably gonna be using a lot of CGI. There's a lot of CGI in this movie, and the CGI in this movie is pretty terrible. And it's really noticeable on the big screen. Like, I saw this in a theater on a really big screen, and the CGI in this movie, like how bad it was just so obvious because I saw it on the big screen. Like, there's so many moments you could tell that they were just like standing in front of a green screen or something, or jumping in front of a green screen with a lot of these action sequences, and it was a bit distracting because it's like, yes, I can suspend disbelief. I know they're not actually doing that, but like, at least try to make it look realistic. Now, on to the best part of F9, the action sequences, which, again, I know I said the CGI is pretty bad in the movie, but if you can overlook that, The action sequences are a lot of fun. I mean, again, fast cars, people jumping on top of cars, out of cars, you know, off of buildings, all that stuff. It's a lot of energy. It's fun, and that's exactly what you get in these type of movies. That's what you expect with these types of movies, and it delivers. And I enjoy that part of the movie. I enjoy that aspect of the movie. It worked for me. I also liked the return of Charlize Theron as Cypher. I think she's a pretty good villain. I would have probably preferred her being the main villain more so than the detour they kind of took with this one. But it was nice to have her back. And I also liked the return of Helen Mirren as Queenie. Helen Mirren is great. That character is fun. And I also liked what they did with Tyrese's character, Roman. Never really been a huge fan of his character, but in this movie, he seems to be the only one that's asking questions like, is what we're doing, does any of this make sense? Does this seem absurd to anyone else? Like, he's actually asking these questions to everybody else, all the other characters. And, you know, to answer your question, Roman, yes, it is absurd. It is ridiculous. So I always liked that they had him sort of being a little meta with it and was like, none of this makes sense, guys. Okay, so those are my thoughts on F9. Once you've seen the film, I'd love to know what you think. How would you rank this with other films in the franchise? Is it better? Is it worse? Did this film work for you? Did it not? So let me know in the comments below. While you're here, also like this video, hit that thumbs up button, and don't forget to subscribe to see more videos like this.